With the help of this very lovely assistant, the masked magician will now create the illusion of teleportation. Most of the time, assistants are used only as a diversion. Not in this case. Here she is a very important part of the trick. The magician wants you to get a good look at the assistant, and not for just the obvious reasons. He backs her up a flight of stairs and onto a platform. They dance around the top to prove that there is no place to hide. The magician takes out a handkerchief and ties the assistant's arms over her head. In order to make it appear that she is tied really tight, he uses two separate knots. He looks back to make sure she can't escape. Then the magician makes his way over to the second platform. He climbs the stairs, gets into position, and gives the cue. The curtains go up. When they come down, our beautiful assistant has magically been transported to the other platform. Physically impossible? Not really. While this is one of magic's most convincing illusions, you'll be surprised at how easily it's done. First, the magician ties a loose slip knot around his assistant's wrists so she can quickly break free and drop to the bottom of the platform. But if she's merely hiding, then how could she be magically transported to another platform 10 feet away? Was it mirrors? A holographic image? Take a look. That's right. Identical twins. But you need more than just twins to pull off a trick like this. You also need perfect timing and execution. Notice the illusion is staged on high platforms, so the audience can't see where the other twin is hiding. From this angle, you can see that when the illusion begins, she is already out of sight. The magician ties up our first twin, then makes his way to the other platform. When the curtain is raised, she breaks free and hides in a way only a limber dancer could. On the other platform, her twin sister hides in the exact same position, waiting to make her magical appearance. When the curtain is raised, she stands up, red scarf in hand. A warm hug from our magician, and the illusion is complete. Take another look. With the help of our split screen, you can see the simultaneous action. Virtually all major magicians use twins in their acts. And you thought all they were good for were gum commercials. Now, our magician will defy the laws of physics and walk through this solid brick wall. First, he'll demonstrate his amazing powers with the help of this ordinary egg. He pushes the egg into the wall, and it vanishes. Now, on the other side, he magically pulls the egg through the solid wall. Yes, the egg is real. And so's the mess. Now it's the magician's turn to pass through the wall. Special screens are brought out. Watch as his shadow moves toward the wall, then disappears into it. Now the assistant gets a chance to try out her dramatic skills. She acts as if the magician is stuck inside. She looks and listens for any signs of life. The screens are brought around to the other side of the wall, and the process is reversed. Now it seems as if the magician is emerging from the center of the wall. The screens are removed, and the trick is complete. Now let's find out how it was done. For starters, the wall really is made of solid brick, so that's not the trick. As for the egg, well, from this reverse angle, we can see that this is a simple palming trick, like when your favorite uncle makes a quarter disappear, then reappear out of your ear. Take another look from the front. While it looks as if the magician is pushing the egg into the wall, from the reverse shot, we can see it's really just tucked behind his thumb. It remains hidden in his hand as he makes his way to the other side of the wall. From the front, the egg is still concealed from view. But with the reverse angle, we can see how he makes it appear as if the egg is coming straight out of the wall. He cracks it open to prove that he wasn't using a collapsible egg. Now the assistants bring out the screen. A light is turned on so you can see the magician's shadow. Here's what it looks like from the front. As the magician moves toward the wall, our magical lighting director slowly fades the light. It now seems as if the magician has disappeared into the wall. After moving to the side of the screen, he makes his escape. The assistant examining the wall is merely a distraction that allows the magician to get inside the screen. As the assistants move the screen to the other side of the wall, you can clearly see that the magician is walking inside. This must be done carefully, or the audience might see his feet or shadow. That would pretty much ruin the trick. The screen is put back into place and the process is reversed. He moves forward as if magically materializing from the center of the wall. But we all knew that it was just one big trick. For his final trick, the masked magician will show you how to make an elephant disappear. There's always a lot of pomp and circumstance in building up the excitement for these big tricks, and they don't get any bigger than this. In case you're wondering, that's a real elephant. He weighs 7,000 pounds and stands 9 feet tall. His handlers are there to make sure he doesn't get out of control. It's important to remember that when you're working with wild animals, there's always an element of real danger. The assistants lead the elephant toward the magician. It's going to take a lot of magic to make this big guy disappear. The elephant is slowly moved into position behind the gates of the cage. Again, the assistants do a little dance. The masked magician gives the signal, and with the elephant inside, the gates of the cage are closed. Keep your eye on the elephant. You can clearly see that he's still in the cage. A puff of smoke, and the elephant is gone. But while all this is happening, the elephant never moves. See, he's still in the cage. That deserves another look. First, the elephant is there.
he's not. Have you figured it out? Well, here's how the trick is done. See the netting at the back of the cage? It looks exactly the same as the netting to the left and to the right of the cage. When the cage is closed, you can clearly see the elephant, as well as the netting behind him. Here's what you don't see. There are mirrors hidden inside each of the bars of the cage. When the magician triggers the explosives, the mirrors slide into place, blocking your view into the cage. You are no longer seeing the elephant and netting inside the cage. Instead, you're seeing a reflection of the netting outside the cage. Meanwhile, the elephant hasn't moved an inch. You can plainly see that he's still in the cage. Let's watch that again. The elephant is inside the cage. When the smoke clears, you're seeing a mirror image of the netting outside the cage. This makes it appear as if the elephant has vanished. Behind the scenes, split-second timing is critical to making the illusion work. On cue, a stagehand pulls a lever that moves the mirrors into place. Here's the trick without the smoke. You can clearly see the elephant disappear as the mirrors shift into position. Now it's time to make the illusion complete. While the audience is mesmerized watching the elephant disappear, his handlers quickly take him out through the netting in the back of the cage. Now when the magician opens the gates, the elephant is really gone. Smoke and mirrors are also used to make other big things disappear. But no matter how large the object, the basic trick remains the same. We've all seen a magician saw a woman in half. Now we're going to show you how it's done. The first thing you need is a willing assistant. Of course, it has to seem like she's not willing. After all, who wants to be sawed in half? The assistant is shackled at the neck and ankles. This is to make it look like she can't move. Special boxes are then put in place and strapped to the table. The doors are open so we can see the assistant trapped inside. This is one of the things that makes this trick so effective. Finally, her hands are tied. She's not going anywhere. The doors are closed. Now, here comes the saw. This is a real saw. The blade is very sharp. But as you'll see later, that doesn't matter. The magician and his assistant make it appear as if they're sawing through her body. Sometimes this will be embellished by screams coming from the assistant inside the box. The saw is removed, but our magician isn't done yet. More blades are inserted through the center of the box. He makes it seem like he hit bone, but if this were really happening, the assistant would be dead. Now for the amazing part of the trick, the assistant is split in half and made dizzy just for good measure. Sometimes you'll see feet sticking out the other end of the box. These are fake feet that move by remote control. The boxes are put back together and the blades are pulled out. The straps are untied. The boxes are removed. And there she is, still shackled to the table. The shackles are unlocked, and from here you can see that her stomach looks just fine. Now for the moment of truth. Here's how it's done. First, the assistant must appear to be completely immobilized. This is the key to the entire illusion. Check out the leg restraints. It's supposed to look like no one could get out of them. But watch. There's just enough room for her to slip free. It takes a really limber assistant to pull off a trick like this. Once the box is closed, she quickly gets out of her shackles and folds her body into the top half of the box, just in time to avoid the blade. This is actually pretty dangerous. The timing must be just right, because the assistant has no way to signal to the magician that she's clear of the saw. To enhance the illusion, the boxes are spun around while the assistant remains curled up inside the top half of the box. After the boxes are put back together, the assistant slips her feet back into the restraints, making it seem as if she's been locked in the entire time. The boxes are removed. The shackles are unlocked. And that's the trick. We told you it was simple. You've now entered the warehouse. For his first trick, the masked magician will turn one of his assistants into a tiger. He'll begin by showing you what the illusion is supposed to look like. Then you'll see how it's actually done. It doesn't matter where you see these illusions performed. In a glitzy Vegas show, a big budget television special, or a show like this where we've stripped away the fancy lasers and pyrotechnics. The tricks are all basically the same. The masked magician makes his entrance. It's important to remember that none of the illusions you will see have been achieved through camera tricks. The magician selects an assistant and puts her into the cage. The cage is then covered by a yellow curtain. There's a reason for this. You'll notice that in many of tonight's tricks, curtains or other obstructions are used to hide what's going on behind the scenes. This is when most illusions are actually pulled off. The cage is lifted into the air, making it impossible for anything or anyone to get in or out. All attention is now focused on the cage. Our magician strikes a dramatic pose. And when the curtains are removed, our assistant has been turned into a 500-pound tiger. It seems pretty magical, but obviously there has to be a logical explanation. Okay, let's let the cat out of the bag and show you how the trick is done. Believe it or not, the tiger is actually inside the cage during the entire illusion. To keep him hidden from view, the tiger must be positioned behind the fake wall. Before that can happen, the trainer must first make him as comfortable as possible in his cage. And that means feeding him plenty of raw meat. While one of the trainers distracts the tiger with the meat, another trainer slides the tiger's hind legs against the rear of the cage. Nice kitty. Then the fake wall is gently put into place. The tiger is trained to stand in a confined space, but only for a short period of time, so everything must happen fast. When the actual performance begins, the tiger is already positioned behind the fake wall as the assistant enters the cage. The drapes are drawn. And with our mini lipstick camera, we can see the assistant drop into a secret compartment at the base of the cage. While inside, she pulls on a cord that releases the tiger into the cage. This must be done with perfect timing, or the girl and the tiger will end up in the cage at the same time. From this angle, you can see that the cage is round at the bottom. This is where our assistant is hiding. Take another look. The compartment is extremely shallow. That's why you don't see too many overweight assistants. Our slender assistant must remain perfectly still, or the tiger will know that lunch is just inches away. It may seem simple, but that's how you turn a lady into a tiger, no matter who's performing the trick. Now the Chinese lantern trick. In case you're wondering, these are not the masked magician's regular assistants, so that won't help you identify them. First, notice the assistant with the ribbons. She has absolutely nothing to do with the trick. Her rhythmic gymnastics are merely a diversion, but a nice one. Now our magician brings out a light. This is an important part of the trick because the illusion is all about light and shadows. If something were concealed within a secret compartment of the lantern, you'd be able to see its shadow. The idea is to prove to the audience that the lantern is empty. It certainly looks empty. When a magician goes to these lengths to prove his point, you know he's up to something. The light is put in place, and the lantern is closed. He takes us around one more time to show there's nothing hidden behind the lantern. Now it's time for the illusion to begin. Amazingly, a shadow appears from inside the lantern. I told you he was up to something. For effect, our magician puts himself into a deep trance as the shadow magically takes on the form of a woman. Now for the big finish. With a little more showmanship, he transforms the shadow into a real human being. But despite all the artistry, we all know that it was just one big trick. Now we'll show you how it was done. As the lantern is brought out, one of the assistants is already hidden inside. Once the lantern is put into position, the assistant slips out a back panel and hides from view. Our magician uses the light to demonstrate that the lantern is empty, which of course it is because our assistant is still hiding outside. He passes the light between the lantern and the assistant in order to avoid casting a visible shadow. The light is put into place and the front of the lantern is closed. The assistant slips back inside the lantern and waits for her cue. Since she can't see the magician's hands, these choreographed movements are triggered by musical cues. What teamwork. Now let's see what it looks like from inside the lantern. Watch as the assistant gets closer to the front screen, making it seem as if a woman is magically materializing. But we know there's nothing really magical about it. Finally, the assistant pops through the front of the lantern, and our magician has done it again.
For centuries, magicians have been making audiences believe that they have mastered the art of levitation. Tonight, the masked magician proves yet again that it's all one big trick. His beautiful lady is all dressed up, but she's got nowhere to go. He wants her right where she is, on this ordinary wooden plank. She dutifully stretches out on the plank and makes herself comfortable. But one girl isn't enough for our masked man, so he calls in some backup. His assistant removes the center pedestal from beneath the plank so that it's now supported only by the two chairs. Looks like it can hold her. Another assistant joins the party, and they all engage in some mystical movements. Guess this puts him in the mood. On his command, the two assistants remove the chairs, leaving the plank and the lady suspended in midair. It's as if she's floating on a cloud, made of solid oak. The magician waves his arms above her to prove that there are no hidden wires. And now the camera will travel all the way around back to prove that there's nothing supporting her from the rear. This levitation is impossible to explain. The magician keeps waving his arms, and yes, she and the wood plank are still floating. He calls the other assistants back in, and they replace the two chairs. Next, he beckons for the center pedestal. When it's in place, he makes a few more passes to awaken Sleeping Beauty. She's pretty when she just wakes up. And there you have it, one of the oldest tricks in the book. But what's the secret? How does the magician make it look like the lady is floating in midair, even from this backstage angle? You're about to find out. The first trick is getting a beautiful woman to lie down on a wooden plank. But the real trick is hidden behind the center pedestal. When the assistant removes the pedestal, it appears that the only things holding up the plank and the girl are the two chairs. The truth is, you're staring right at the secret. Cleverly hidden in the magician's pants is a third leg. There it is, strong as a rock. You'll see how it works in a minute. When the assistants remove the two chairs, it looks like the girl on the plank is floating. From the back, his right leg hides the support in the third leg. But from this angle, you can see that the fake leg is supporting the plank. Here it is before the trick begins, waiting for the magician to step into position. For a closer look, the girl removes the fake leg. From the back, it looks like he should fire his tailor. Now here's the plank supported by the steel brace. When the fake leg is in place, you'd never suspect it was there. And that's how the magician creates the illusion that a gorgeous young woman can float through life with no visible means of support. Here's a trick that's common among street magicians. It uses a seemingly ordinary everyday object. After some minor league dumpster diving, the magician finds a crumpled soda can in the trash. Looks like someone doesn't recycle. No matter, the magician plans to do a little recycling of his own. A magical gesture and a shake to prove the can is empty, and how about that? The dents disappear. Well, most of them do. Still, pretty impressive. Another magical gesture, and the magician attempts to pull the tab and break the hermetic seal. Wait, I thought that this can was empty and discarded. We'll just see about that. A nice cold beverage, anyone? That's how you recycle a soda can by magic. But we all know there's no such thing. First, the masked magician selects what appears to be a discarded soda can. Before the trick began, the magician secretly prepared this ordinary can. Using a very sharp knife, he makes a tiny puncture in the can and outsprays the soda. The magician releases just enough soda to create an air pocket inside the can. Before all of the liquid can escape, he seals the hole with some waterproof tape. Next, the magician covers the pop top with a small circle of black paper. From a distance, the black disc creates the illusion that you are looking into an open and empty can. In reality, the top is still factory sealed. Finally, the magician carefully bends the can, creating the impression that it's been crushed and discarded. The stagehand places the can on top of a pile of phony garbage, and the illusion is ready to begin. To perform the trick, the magician picks up the can and gently shakes it. Here's where paying attention during science class comes in handy. Shaking the can causes the gas bubbles inside to build up pressure. As the pressure increases, the air inside the can expands and causes the dents to pop back out. Next, the magician secretly removes the disc of black paper. Revealing the factory seal on the top of the can is untouched. All that's left to do now is flip up the tab, break the seal, and pour out the remaining soda. It looks convincing, but when the masked magician is around, you can bet it's not the real thing. The magician will use this empty office in the abandoned warehouse to duplicate an illusion made popular on TV by street magicians. He examines the glass in the office window. It's solid. No chips, breaks, cracks, or imperfections of any kind. In fact, it's the cleanest thing in this dusty joint. Next, he finds a discarded sheet of paper and calls in his lovely assistants to lend a hand. As always, he makes sure we get a good look at the girls. Next, he tells them what he wants them to do with the paper sheet. He places it in front of the window and indicates the exact spot where they should hold it. Meanwhile, the magician prepares for his big moment. He steps into the office and closes the door. While the girls work their magic outside the window, the magician will work his magic on the inside. See what I mean? Let's hope he's got more planned than this mime routine. Satisfied that the glass is solid, he instructs the girls to raise the paper. The magician climbs up behind the paper so we can see him one last time behind the solid pane of glass. Now watch. Suddenly, a finger bursts through the paper sheet. This is either a very convincing illusion, or the magician is going to have to pay for a broken window. That's his hand, all right. We can see both of the girls' hands on the paper, so they're not part of the deception. He tears the paper, and now his foot emerges through the glass. Now his whole body. But that glass was one solid piece. It still is. Absolutely incredible. This is one illusion that begs for an explanation. We just saw the masked magician penetrate a solid glass window without breaking it, just like certain famous street magicians have done to the amazement of millions of TV viewers. So how did he do it? Here are the secrets. Before he walks through the glass, the magician walks into the office. What we don't see is that hidden behind the wall are two of his assistants ready to make the magic happen. The magician shows us the glass and proves that it's solid. At least, this part of it is. The window is actually much larger than it appears from the front. The glass has a solid section on top and a cutout section in the lower half that is hidden by the wall. Attached to the bottom of the glass are two handles. Finally, the glass is fitted into a concealed guide rail that runs from the top of the window down to the floor. Once the solid part of the glass is covered by the paper, the assistants hidden behind the wall use the handles to raise the entire pane so that the cutout is above the window frame. With the paper covering the window, we don't see the glass moving or the large hole that is rising into place. Here it is from behind, without the paper covering the glass. But if the glass moves, why doesn't the open sticker on the upper left corner of the window move? Here's the secret. From the front, it looks like a sticker on the glass. From the back, we see that it's a solid sign, cleverly attached to the window frame and not the glass. It stays put as the glass moves in front of it. This simple sign adds authenticity and makes the illusion more convincing. With the cutout raised behind the paper, the magician carefully punctures a hole with his finger. At this point, a larger hole would reveal the cutout in the glass and give away the trick. To ensure the hole doesn't open too wide, the magician uses a sharp screw to pierce the paper. How's that for high tech? He saws the paper with the screw and slides his body through the opening, careful not to expose the cutout behind him. Here it is from inside the room. The paper is torn and the magician forces his way through the cutout in the window. The second he is through, the hidden assistants quickly slide the glass back into place. The paper is removed and the solid glass is revealed. Nice job, girls. You made him look good again. And now you know his secret.
First stage, you really blew my mind. Next stage, I reached but could not find. Blast off, exploding love. Cast off, blast off to the stars above. No relativity in my galaxy. Lift off for love. Lift off for love. Baby, hold on to me. Escape velocity. Lift off for love.
the way everyone else does it. This is the way we do it. We had to get these built special.
First day you slipped away from me. Next scan, you're not where you should be. Nah. Trapdoor, hopped in for a while.